Alright, this is going to be a trading journal write-up review of several trades, um, but most of them are in progress currently. The only one that's not in progress is this AMD long trade I took. So we'll start with AMD. So I've already updated my YouTube on a long trade previously. Whoops. Where I got long in here, held through this drawdown, and then got out really nicely up in there. So this is basically the same trade. Probably being capital and experience. So what I did was just went in small with a call. Had more than a week of expiration. And obviously got wrecked into this drawdown, but I knew that this was most likely a manipulation below these equal lows. Actually, these equal lows here. So, just so happened to have that manipulation here, and luckily the move happened very quickly, and I was able to actually make some really good money on that one little trade. So yeah, anyways, this is going off the same idea. Honestly, this is the idea with AMD is this is going to keep going way higher. So this was the real accumulation manipulation buy. As you can see, we came back into it today. And targets are, here above this high. So macro targets. So anyways, I just saw that there was some news, a big manipulation down, and it's exact same setup. So if you look here, first of all, I saw some dude on Twitter posting how he went long AMD here, and I was like, yeah, right, brother, because these equal highs here. So he got wrecked. Just kidding, I don't know what happened, but he most likely took a loss because he bought and instantly it was in drawdown. Anyways, saw this rejection coming, saw these equal lows, and I was like, you know what, we're probably going to come and sweep these lows. Didn't think it would happen today, just knew that it would happen. Saw that it happened this morning, saw some people talking about it, so I was like, hey, that's exactly why I follow people, to hear what's trending, what's hot in the market, and various other reasons. And yeah, we took out these equal lows, saw this order block here, and I was like, cool. So looks like anywhere in here below this low would be an entry. Just so happened I caught, I was in a smaller time frame here. We were starting to consolidate, and that's kind of what I was waiting for, is us to start showing signs, because you want to be on the right side of the V, since that's what Lance Brightstein talks about. And yes, it's a great concept. But here, we started pulling back here, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to get in. So I got in. Just so happened to nail the wick here. Somewhere in here I was in. With a call. So obviously not in the actual chart. But got in a great buy on a call. It was pretty far out of the money because, like, again, this is just me. Very low risk. Trading options on the same concepts I used to trade futures. This line shows where I took profit. Got in here on this wick, and could have sold here. I was debating it, but didn't, and got out there as lunch was about to happen, and that's a key time frame for me to get out of a trade. So, especially as we're into what may be this considered as some sort of order block here. So, anyways, that's the trade. I got out, I had a reason to get out. We were consolidating until lunch, right before lunch. Glad I got out. Debated getting back in, but me being happy with my little win on my little trade, I was like, you know what? I think we were here when I was debating, right here. And I was like, you know what? This is most likely going to be great, but I am being pretty risky here with the trading I'm doing. Um, with live money. So I was like, I'm gonna just not take it. Here's the flow from today. It wasn't very helpful, but if you look at the call of bear and bull premiums, you can see that obviously that huge move down today was most of that premium for puts, for bearish premium. And for where we were in price at the lows, bullish premium was coming up pretty steadily. So that was the signal in the premiums. But other than that, there wasn't anything else in just the net premium that really showed anything other than puts slowly grinding down all day and the calls basing. But even then, the dip buy had nothing to do with what was happening in the flow, really. More of a classical relative equal low sweep of liquidity into an order block, and just so happened to basically pinpoint and nail it. Well, not just so happened. That's exactly what I look for. So yeah, we were consolidating at the order block, just so happened to catch the wick, and then immediately popped, and I was like, boom, trade's confirmed. To see that type of reaction where I'm getting in and see the displacement into this move once we pulled back here. Also, this candle wicking on the 1 minute just showed how weak the what just happened? Just showed how weak that little move down really was. So I like to see weakness on the way down. Inverse that. I like to see strength on the way up. So, but yeah, anyways, yeah, that's what I did. Got out. Obviously, this I think will keep moving way higher. Maybe we'll get another pullback down into here. Who knows? But yeah, that's a great trade for me. The realistic target for this type of a buy would be above these equal highs, and then a re-entry, and then above this high, and then just continue that same logic going forward. So yeah, that's AMD. That's the trade I took on AMD. That's my call trade. The rest of these trades are ongoing trades. So let's start with ES. So this is still ongoing. Let's start with the daily. So obviously we're in a bull market, displacing higher, daily candle here displaced higher. We did get a wick here, relative equal highs on the way down. We only had a 4-hour market structure shift, and it's been failing ever since. The only real shift happened in here. This is all fake, in my opinion. This is kind of how my analysis works. Now, these are just wicking, finishing the momentum from that market structure shift. And we're into this fair value gap on the daily. So daily fair value gap, we closed it yesterday, not today, and today, above the midline. Even this candle, 4-hour, excuse me, respected it perfectly. I got in yesterday on this candle, long, risking this low, targeting this high, or 3R. So most likely start taking profits as we get into this, probably this order block or something of the sort, which is somewhere above 3R, which is going to be somewhere like, oh, just ruined that, dude. There's 2.3. So yeah, looks like we're just going to take it off once we get basically to the target. All right. But I have since the entry moved my stop loss. So I moved my stop loss at the low of these candle bodies here, because I do see these equal lows here, and it's likely that this comes down and sweeps this out. because we still could come down into this fair value gap. So for me, it makes sense to raise my stop loss because my entry was into here to here, because now I'm in a profit no matter what, risk-free trade. And if we do come down again, it's likely that we stop here, or if we're going to continue, we're going to take out these lows. And in that case, I'll stop out for a profit, tiny profit, and re-enter at a better price. So that's the logic there. Still ongoing. A few variables here was the flow still. So if you look at today's flow, the net flow was bullish, crossing here, but was pretty bearish for the net flow premium. But if you look at the market tide, extremely bullish. Bullish volume, bullish premium, bearish put premium, like everything's bullish. This one showing a lot of choppiness, I'd say, because of the back and forth with volumes and the way that the tide was contradicting this. And then if you do look at SPY, so this is the net flow again, but if we look at here and we click at the last 3 days, the last 3 days have been bullish, even though we did have some volume here. This what looks like it was selling of puts. So premiums and calls were up, but people were selling puts, which is bullish. In my analysis. And then same thing, this is Monday. So Monday, super bullish. Oh, usually, and that's when we got the dip down into here. So this is a classic for my analysis, accumulation, manipulation, and then eventually we will have a distribution at some point. So that is the plan here. If you look at NASDAQ, I was expecting NASDAQ to dig a bit deeper, although it's logical it would bounce here because there were equal lows and it's in a discount if you measure from here. And we did touch that. Excuse me, I just drank a bunch of coffee because I was tired earlier. But anyways, swept equal lows inside the daily fair value gap. That's enough for this to head higher. Doesn't mean it's going to keep heading higher to the new highs. But for now, it looks pretty good. And if we look here, we had some SMT. So I bought the stronger pair. Although NASDAQ was stronger today, this was due to the sell-off in the Dow, which is a whole other story we'll have to look at one day. But yeah, that wraps up the ES trade. It's a risk-free trade now. If it's not going to head higher and clear out some of this liquidity up here or make new highs, then I'll be stopped out for break even, and I'll slowly scale out as we get to the new high. The other trade idea I have is not German British pound, but it is the peso. We've swept a high here. We've been bearish this entire time. We entered a quarterly fair value gap. What we really want to look at is the futures, but this is what I'm trading to get exposure here is the pair, USD MXN pair. And we took out these equal highs and we had a daily displacement. So got in here, risking this candle. This is a old thing. So I'm short here and I'm just targeting new lows. So obviously could be wrong, whatever. But part of this idea is based on the dollar eventually rejecting because we will eventually have rate cuts. So there was some confluence here with the dollar. Equal highs swept. I knew that this would be a likely level for us to reject. After sweeping liquidity, we already swept it, came down, created somewhat relative equal highs. We have done it again here, and here. So we could easily come and sweep that high again still, but other than that, there's a reason for it to go down, not necessarily to keep going down, but there's a reason now on the cards, and that's a confluence for me in this trade. So one thing I could have done here, maybe, now that I'm looking at this again, with hindsight. No, that's how I want to trade it. I'm using the daily chart, so never mind. But yeah, it looks good. The other trade I'm in now is gold, a little Bitcoin. Alright, not gold. So this one, I did make some mistakes here. I had originally had my stop at this candle low. As you can see, we took it out. And that's because I thought I needed to give this some more room to breathe. Normally, I never raise my stop. I'll just take the loss, but I knew that it's likely we would take my stop and the trade would still be on. And this is because the way that the others market cap was coming down. As you can see, swept this low here. Here, let's use this chart. Bitcoin does. So yeah, if you look, is this inverse? So as the altcoins made a new low and consolidated here, Bitcoin, if you look at the same time, kept grinding lower. And to me, this shows that altcoins are the play. I do have exposure already, but I still like the play here on Bitcoin because we're holding this low. And that's some SMT divergence here. So we got exposure to both. Excuse me. And macro SMT for the stronger pair being Bitcoin here. And then some shorter term SMT as, not really, but anyways, you get the point. We came lower here, and this was the 4-hour real order block, and that's why I moved my stop. So I was like, you know what, this is gonna keep going, and I don't want to fight this, trying to get back in and getting a terrible price. So I just took the L. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna realize this loss now, because when you move your stop, you're taking on more risk. So I was like, you know what, let's just call it a loss for now, and I'll lower my stop. Not too much though. All I did was add on 50% of my regular risk. And now that we've bounced here, I've adjusted my risk again though. So I adjusted it for the volatility. Obviously we could still get stopped out, but for me, that was what made sense. I feel like I protected this trade the way I did that, and I had the intention of moving my stop instead of impulsively doing it because of, no, I want to stay in. I knew that this whole area here is all up for grabs for a rejection, because I thought we would just take this low out, and as you can see, we took it out, but took it out pretty deep. So I think this was smart here. Obviously in hindsight seems smart, but in the moment I think it was smart too, because I knew at some point this would bounce. We had a huge 6% day down, 7% down candle, while the altcoins were holding. So if you look at the same day, it closed green, whereas here it closed huge red. So in my mind, this was just a false move. If you look on the 2-day chart, look at that. So didn't even displace, and yes, we could come back down, which we very likely might. But yeah, that's the setup. I actually expect this to work itself out. It'd be funny to see this get completely what's the word for it? I guess it already is. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm looking for. For this to just get bought back up and have no candles in here closing. So, kind of anticipated it and just happened to be right today. So, there's the long on Bitcoin. I've already covered my XRP trade before, and the only other trade I am eyeing to is the pound. I think we will come lower. I realize I am net. This is a future trade, so I don't need to cover this. Yeah, this is a review. Okay. Yeah, so I expect the pound, though, to come lower and probably get in this order block. But I don't want to get too net in a single direction, as you know, I'm already short USD MXN, which is basically short the dollar. Right? This is all confusing. Whatever. Anyways, it's the same direction if I get long on the pound. So in this USD MXN trade, I'm actually in half size, half my regular risk, because I know that I'm long Bitcoin, I'm long XRP. ES doesn't matter anymore because it's risk free now, but eventually I may add in more size. So don't want to get in too big of size in one direction. So yeah, what else? I'm eyeing a short setup entry on the Dow. I was looking for us to reject in here, got too scared because I was like, you know what, these highs might be close enough to equal highs, especially if you look at the DJI. They're pretty close. So yeah, so I just got a little scared here. So we have a market structure shift on futures. And this looks like an order block. So if we come back up into the weekly fair value gap, I will consider getting short again. And it might make a lot of sense, especially since I'm net long the market in general, or short the dollar. It would make sense to hedge with a short, because if it's like, okay, this is a real trade idea, and there's nothing really invalidating it other than somewhat equal highs, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense to hedge short here. And if this trade doesn't work out, then maybe the ES trade, that means the ES trade will, or at least that it raises the odds. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. I'd be hedging myself right now. So YM's taking this liquidity out. It now has reason to bounce back up, and yeah, I'll monitor the trade from there. But yeah, that's the whole thing. That's the whole recap. ES, Bitcoin, Peso, and AMD. So there you have it. Have a good one.